any concept is not just given, but there's picturization of it and understanding it of it, and unconsciously, obviously, the movies and the understanding of that concept is very, very clear.
Got it. It's freaky because right now, while we were talking, and I'm so sorry, I am completely present and I heard you. But I was thinking about Battle of Plassey and Robert Clive and 1842. And I realized that why I was probably able to remember so much of details of N.C. Kundra's book. Okay, it's like a fat history textbook.
History textbook.
Yeah, it's because it was a movie.
Yeah.
It was like one of those war movies that you see today. And of course, I realized that now, but I realized that it was probably that, and as you said, that we naturally tend to probably do.
Yeah, this is something, everything in NLP is something that we actually already do, and most of us do it in some context. It's just that consciously knowing it, we can replicate it in areas we may not be doing it.
Yeah. So do more of what you're good at seems to be what...
Yeah. So just now that you realize that you're able to recall it even now, right? That history textbook.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, Anita, stop. Don't think about...
No, that's wonderful. That's what we want. That's what we want. Actually, that's what happens when people are going through this. They suddenly realize, because all these stars, they start becoming aware. Okay, because the resource is within the person.
Correct.
So when this work and things happen, their own patterns, how they're stored, they start realizing, oh, this is how I do it, and then one can start accessing it more.
Right. So there's just one conflict in my mind. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So you have like an inherent learning style that a probably child has. Okay, visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, and you're saying that regardless, you kind of introduce this or what. So where do they meet?
Yeah. So that's the thing is, when we say auditory, kinesthetic thing, the thing is the input channel can be anything. Okay, we're talking about the storing. So when we're saying, so the thing is, the best thing is, like, see, we do have different things like multiple intelligence, where they say, okay, teach the child in the way the child learns.
Correct. That Howard Gardner's MI theory.
Yeah, and I definitely, do understand that it's very useful to pace and learn in one's own way of learning easily. At the same time, I think what would help us be empowered is when we can be flexible to learn from any input channel.
Yes, you're broad-based.
So when we're saying the learning, it's not just about storing, they're also talking about how we're receiving the information. Like if it's auditory, maybe like from somebody saying it to me, or I'm hearing it, I find it easier to learn. Or when I see it or I read it, then I find it easier. And some may say I'm more kinesthetic when I do some experiments and then I learn quickly. So that's the way I'm taking in the input. Okay, and now what we're talking about is how we're storing it.
Okay.
So right now, if you looked at it, I auditorily gave you the input.
Yes.
I said that, and you created internally your storage. And then when you recalled it, you again auditorily recalled it.
Yes.
You verbalized it.
Oh yeah, now I make the distinction.
Yeah, so you could have even written it out.
Correct.
Our modes of output is that we either able to say it out or we write it.
Yes.
Yeah, and when we are taking in, we can either take it, visually or auditorily or kinesthetically with our touch and senses. Okay, and what we're saying is, okay, when we store it, okay, now if I store it kinesthetically, now how will I store it kinesthetically? Then I would have had to store this muscle movement of apple.
Correct.
Which would not be easy to recall, right?
Yes, and there are like a lot of movements.
Yeah, so actually, even if we're using this external input, unconsciously, actually, it's going and storing as ABP as a sight.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, now I might not see the sight, but if I say just apple, then the pronunciation is stored. But in terms of spelling, I might not recall. And in reading, when I do that, then what will happen, it's extremely, and each of these ways of learning is useful in different contexts.
Okay,
auditory learning, like storing it auditorily, works beautifully in music.
Right.
Because I need to recall the words and, the tone and
the notes.
Yeah, so that way it works beautifully. And it's useful We recall sequentially.
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
Sequentially. See, if
okay.
yeah, like let's look at visual memory and auditory memory. When I ask you to think of a favorite scene from one of your movies, can you think of a favorite scene?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you went to this scene, did you have to go from the beginning, or did you just go randomly to the scene?
To the scene.
To the scene,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so this is what we say: random access is possible in something we have stored visually.
Mm-hmm.
Because that movie is stored, even though we saw it externally as a movie, even internally, now when you recalled it, you saw the movie, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So the movie doesn't just have pictures; it has sounds, it has all the other senses too.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're saying visual memory, we're not just saying only pictures, but we're saying all the other things, which adds to the whole learning. Okay, now if I ask you about Jack and Jill,
okay,
can you think of the fourth line in Jack and Jill?
And Jill came tumbling after.
Yeah. So how did you recall this?
I had to go from top.
From the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so most of the poems and songs we would have stored it auditorily. So that also is like a tape recorder. Initially when we used to have the thing, we have to go to the beginning.
Correct.
Okay, and we have to recall. So randomly, I will not be able to access.
Yes.
Okay, so auditory memory is quite it's sequential in nature.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. It works wonderful if I want to learn music.
Okay.
And now kinesthetic memory. Now, if I'm keeping things in muscles and storing that way, okay, imagine in an academic situation, how would I store that and recall it?
I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, so what happens is even when we're doing, experiments, this thing, what also happens is along with that, it's also translating insight.
Correct.
Into probably
recall all the labs and workshops.
Yeah. So we would probably visualize it. Okay, I did this, all that. So it stores that way, along with the help of this movement of doing things. Okay, so it stores. So we're talking about the storing, how we're storing.
Yeah.
Right, but the input thing could be different. So, but also in terms of input, okay, imagine everything that I want to learn, I have to write.
Yeah.
Okay, initially when we're young, we write a lot, right?
Yes.
Okay, over time, if we are then our learning can be slowed by how fast we can write.
You're saying that, or you're?
Yeah, I'm saying that.
Okay.
If I use it for academics, and I want to read something, imagine only when I write it, I'm able to understand it.
Yeah.
So it's really impossible to write all the books out, right?
Of course.
Okay, maybe we use keywords and all. That's a little bit lesser. Yes. Imagine if we had to write everything and only then we could store it.
Easy.
Yeah, so we don't do that also naturally if you look at it. And even auditory, what if I was only memorizing it? Then I would have to go to the beginning to recall something. And the thing is, it's not about the book, but most of the information now, we randomly need it in some situations.
Yes.
Okay, that's the empowerment we have.
Yes.
Whether for our children or for adults or for anyone. Okay, the empowerment is all this learning that we're able to access it in life.
Yeah.
To improve the quality of our life.
Correct.
Otherwise, it will be just like a subject which I learned and I got some marks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why you're saying it's helpful to store things as movies and.
Yeah, so because randomly some information like, okay, I probably learned something and now suddenly in this discussion, it just comes if it's relevant.
Right. So, okay, because I'm going to go on a limb and ask this.
Yeah.
As adults also, okay. Like I tend to forget sometimes where I have kept the key or something like that. So will it help if I were to just, I don't know what, are you getting what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So I just want to ask that, okay, let's say in an extreme case when people as they grow older, when they start developing, dementia. So, and I actually get worried these days, like I'm 43 and these days when I forget to put a key, to remember where I've kept my key or something, I'm like, oh my God, no, God save me. So is there anything with what you said, that whole movie concept, which can probably help me memorize the location?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, what's more important, Anita, from what you're sharing, I don't think it's about you not recalling. Maybe at the time when you were keeping it, I'm
Hmm.
not sure, were you paying attention, or were you in your mind, there was something else happening?
So that probably definitely was something else happening. So
Yeah, so
now,
generally that's when somebody, they may not have registered it.
yeah, yeah,
So that means it's not even stored. They automatically, we do a lot of these things are automatic, no? Keeping a
correct,
key
correct.
somewhere. We can't sit and say, okay, I'm going to remember this. So we put this naturally as
Uh,
a response, like we just put it somewhere, and then at that time we're probably thinking something else and we have not registered it.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
Okay, one way is like, okay, you can go back, trace back. Suppose you want to search for it, you can trace back, okay, what were the things I was doing, and unconsciously you might be able to pick up, oh, this is where I did this. I put my hand out and the key was kept there.
Right.
Okay, you could recall.
Huh.
Yes. So over there, it could be just more of, okay, if I want to remember, then I'm paying attention when I'm
Yeah.
seeing it that way.
Which, while you're saying, I'm realizing that obviously all of us will want to do that. Many things that we feel like we miss, it's just about paying attention so that the movie gets in, and then there's no worry about whether I'm really forgetting something, like
Yeah, yeah,
small thing like
yeah.
a key.
Yeah, just check. Maybe next time. I mean, it'll be interesting for me also. It's
Yeah,
nice what you're asking because these are things that we encounter in daily life, right?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
check next time in case you forget where you kept the key, uh, just take a step back and just retrace. Okay, what was your
Hmm. Hmm.
journey? And never know, it could just flash.
Yeah, I will do that. Viewers, I mean, parents, teachers, I'm sure many of you are probably, of course, have also are undergoing training, or you might be in some manner exposed to, okay, what all can be done to make your child's learning experience better. But today, I think I'm carrying back a lot from you, Monica, which is like using the whole brain gym, using mind map, then using Robert Dill's theory, using the concept of NLP. Most importantly, parents, I don't know if you could catch that. Your child is probably perfectly okay the way he or she is. Right, Monica?
Yes, all of us are. Yes,
All of us
every
are. All
child
of us
is
are.
perfectly.
And the reason why I say this is because I think unknowingly sometimes parents also end up, what they believe is a process of correcting the child. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about that. Rather, one of the simple things that probably could be tried out is how you can let all the stimulus that comes to your child be converted into a movie. While of course you can seek professionals like Monica's help, but today I think the biggest thing that's standing out for me is no wonder it's called accelerated learning, because there are like a multiple concepts of learning that are being combined together, so that a child can actually function better in this world for himself primarily, and also for others. So would that be a fair way of summarizing this, Monica?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. May I ask you a personal question, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Huh? Like and it is personal, and I'm okay saying this to the viewers also. I'll edit it out in case you don't want me to
No,
share.
no, I'm perfectly fine. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So again, because it is also interesting, as human beings, how we function or why we do some things that we do. Like there are certain things that I really do because I don't have a child. Okay, and I'm very fascinated. Somehow it matters to me to do well with kids, and somewhere that need needs to get fulfilled, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I
And
understand.
like I love it. To me, it's like the biggest things that I cherish is when a teenager probably gives me a compliment saying, oh, I wish you were a mom, you would have been the coolest mom ever.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, somehow something like that means so much more than anything else. So
Yeah.
like that, I know for a fact that you also don't have a child, and biological child, if I may say. Otherwise, so do you think that played a part in you taking up so much of work with children?
I don't think so, Anita, because when I started this, I was 27.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that time I hadn't even thought, okay, we had not thought of having kids or not kids. And the interesting part, even with me, us having child or not, Uh, Actually, initially I had this thing called fibromyalgia. I had a health problem.
Okay.
It was like a lot of joints and muscle pains, and I would hardly get up from the bed when Ashlesh and me got married. And Ashlesh was really concerned about my health. And he was like concerned, okay, if I'm gonna have a baby, whether he'll lose me from what he shared. Okay, and so during that time we didn't have a baby that way, and later on it was like different things. Like my dad was bedridden,
Right.
so I took off a lot of time from to almost 6 years, 7 years to be with him and take care. So I never really gave a thought about having kids or not having kids.
Sure.
I flowed with what was there in life.
Yeah.
So initially when we got married, I did want to have a kid and things like that, but technically I wasn't well at that time and it didn't bother me, and at no other time did we actually say, okay, I want to have kids. That didn't come. So it didn't come from there. It happened even before that, working with children.
Sure.
And I think even at that young age, anybody's child would be like my own child, not as a possession, but as a being. For me, every soul, souls can come through somebody physically, but we have connection with different souls. So even with children or whatever.
Yes.
Like even when I took up children's work, I would always look at it, okay, if it's my child or it's same, or even if it's anybody who comes as a participant, would I do the same thing I did it for a family member? And for my own personal thing, I never wanted to be different. I felt that a lot of my thing is from my teacher, my guru, pranic healing teacher. He's no more. His name is Master Choa.
Okay.
So he's my inner guide and teacher, spiritual guru.
Okay.
So a lot about him is learning to be loving, irrespective, and there's a oneness to every human being and soul, and whether it's a child. So every child also, that is how it fell. So I don't know if I really looked for anything from children, because actually most children, they connect with Ashlesh a lot. They love him.
Yeah.
Some children do connect with me, but emotionally they may not really come so much. But what I'm good at is, especially with learning or even with personal excellence, I'm a good coach that I'm able to empower them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for me, is the most important thing is that they're not dependent on me.
Right.
Or on the system.
Yeah.
Or on the system. My thing is that the resource is within them. My role is to be a facilitator or a catalyst who can help them or be there in where they discover, and that they journey and they have everything to think. So I, even with the accelerated learning and the program, I don't have it as a system like where children keep coming back again and again. My whole idea was, okay, in 12 sessions, children, initially when I did one-on-one, in 12 sessions, can they come to this place that they're empowered for life, for their learning.
Wow.
And even for parents, it's a one-time investment. So tuition every month, one needs to go back and again. Okay, so my whole thing is like, it's a bridge. We looked at it as a bridge between the school, because school is catering to larger number, but sometimes there's gaps and children need some more help and things. So where we could be a bridge so that they get empowered and they can go back into the mainstream. Okay, and that also that they need not come back. And for me, a lot of things is, if they're very attached to me and they need to keep coming back to me, I do sometimes question, is it about me or them being empowered?
Of course.
So it used to be like that. So I do, when I work, keep a little, initially I give them a lot of the thing, because they need the support.
Yeah.
And I see them being very strong, I actually move away.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing is, they would come. Students still come, children still come, or adults. But they would come more from because they want to, and as a relationship. But I don't want them to be in any way dependent.
Yeah.
So this was something very, very important for me. Yeah.
Of course, and I get that now, because, and the reason why this question came is because when you told about Ebenezer, and then how, like, okay, the lady who works with kids, and then it's Ebenezer, sorry. And so I thought, okay, did it somewhere play a part? Whereas now I see that the true power is because you're not having that typical attachment that one will associate with interacting with a kid. And
Yeah,
that's what helps you do the work in such a powerful manner.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if my personally not having children or think whether I had or didn't, my path would be different. I
Mhm.
don't think so.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's something that I've never felt because I'm someone who just flows by life. If I was meant to have kids,
Hmm.
that would happen. I also felt that maybe, if I had my own children, I would probably be taking care of one or two kids. And now I actually can be available to more people, more kids, more children.
Yes,
And I take it as, a lot from that God and my and master would want me to play this role.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I've not really felt that need, so I don't know much about
No,
when
perfectly
of it
fine.
is.
And I think gratitude for the work, gratitude for the role that you're able to play in parents' lives, children's life, in a manner that they can carry it forward through three important things that I'm definitely carrying it forward, which is like a combination of different learning systems to create a whole new higher level of accelerated learning. NLP being a very big component of it. Secondly, treat or trust the fact that your child has all the resources that the child will need to not just survive but to thrive. And last but not the least, it's all about the movies, guys. So movies is not a bad thing. So I'll of course talk to you a lot more, Monica, on the learning excellence part and the personal excellence part in the forthcoming episodes. But thank you so much today for a really wonderful learning, and I look forward to seeing you next Saturday.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anita. And just before we call off, what I would like to also say, even though we're talking a lot about academics,
Mm-hmm.
the accelerated learning is not just about academics.
No?
Just to
Sure.
give you an example, like you had asked me some examples which I
Yes,
didn't,
yes,
right?
yeah.
So there was one of the coaches who was doing the accelerated learning thing to become a coach,
Okay.
and as she was doing these different things, she suddenly, one day she just came and shared that she was somebody who would never dance when she went into a social setup. She would
Okay.
want to dance, but she would never dance. And
Okay.
then there was this one day that she just went and she went and started dancing, and it just happened out of accelerated learning. Because the thing is, it's even though it's about learning, this is about learning anything. Okay,
Right.
so many different things open up.
Um,
Okay, learning how we communicate. So the thing is, we are working on these, but these are all patterns. So interesting, so many different things start opening up for people.
wow. Okay. So can you just like tell a line more at least about how that could have happened, like using the accelerator, the thing about dancing?
Yeah, so the thing is, even something like with the accelerated learning, because there's also whole brain learning, we're using left
Right.
and right brain.
Yes.
Right brain has to do a lot with movement and
Hmm.
thing. So
Yeah.
it may be that she was accessing more left, and when the whole brain learning,
Hmm.
uh, you know, uh, it's something that it opened up for her, that
Yeah.
movement. And when we say from a brain gym concept, we say when we have any kind of stress or we are limited to do something, what happens is we switch off one side of the brain.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Okay.
like in one, you're going with just one leg or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but when it's whole brain learning, you're using both sides of your brain, and it
Right.
helps you to move through any kind of stress.
Ah.
Okay, anytime we're doing something very confident, easy, okay,
Hmm.
naturally we're using whole brain learning.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's possible at that time, that uh, she was probably logically thinking, okay, what if someone thinks and this and that, and then tapping into her right side of the brain, it could be her unconscious mind, a lot of things start
Hmm.
opening up. Okay, because these are all learned patterns, right? So it could be patterns that express in your learning as academics, but
Yeah.
they could be something that's generalized into other areas of our life.
As well. Right. Right.
Yeah, so it could open up so many different things. Like there was a child I was working who was 7 years old, and he used to
Okay.
come.
Uh-huh.
So initially, when he came, we would see, like when he came, you would see that his head is a lot more bigger than his body. Visually, when you see,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
sometimes the focus is there. Have you
Right.
seen
Right.
it?
Yes. I
And
have.
then we would do a lot of brain gym exercises and all, and suddenly we would see his whole body is looking congruent, because the mind and body and everything has become whole. And he used to struggle with cycling when he came, so we never really dealt with cycling.
Huh.
Yeah, but as he was doing this and he was doing whole brain learning, he suddenly came and said one day that, now I've started to cycle. Okay, so it opens new ways of learning so many different things.
Right.
Yeah. Because our human brain and mind has actually got everything. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just that there are times we are switching off
Yes.
some parts, and here we're just opening all those things.
Right. So while you're saying, just the words like brain freeze was coming to my mind, that when you're stressed, why sometimes you probably repeat your mistakes, or why you say that, okay, my mind is not working anymore. It's probably because we are functioning like with half the resources or only part of the resources. And that's what is like opening up to me. And yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, sorry, Anita, you were almost
No,
completing
no,
another thing,
no,
but I
no.
thought I just wanted to say what else is possible out of accelerated learning.
Absolutely, and thank you for doing that. I'm like, so part of my greed, and viewers, this is a very sincere request to you. Part of the reason why sometimes I feel like I have to keep a watch on the time is so that I see your receptivity towards the effort that we are making. But hell yeah, this was like a great thing to receive from you as a parting shot or a parting gift. So thank you for that. Absolutely no worries.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anita.
So
Yeah.
I will see you next Saturday. And viewers, you don't go anywhere. I will definitely see you on the Tuesday and the Thursday with my life hacks and sessions with Sue. And we'll catch Monica for some more things that she's good at. Because you know what? Today, when I started, that's the first thing that she said. Yeah, you tell me, what do you want to do? I'm good at everything. That's the
Oh
confidence. And
no.
that's why she's there. So I'll see you next Saturday with Monica. Thank you so much
Thank you, Anita. Thank you so
for
much.
watching
Yeah,
Slate with Anita.
yeah, slate, Anita.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.